no ebano prostate there's a new medical technology UK for na crophobia did sadia naba first nanka wo Johnson no prostate na semba ho a you twa okase ten na ya debi robotic surgery no your body to say pew na ye wie eno no kura na ye wie ya wa cha 3 days you see bibia was assess we person o ye bia no which we here because you correct na kama na ye the amount but can frata de na de ye wie na mmom no ohia bosome porpore miensa na de atiapo otiapo wie na so beba Ghana na waba precious match ho ye over to you
Captain my mencha na mencha watie for la menka say you sympathize with Ken OfORI Attah because yare de obi atumi yare say the bia mesika no and cancer nya de a toss wa the papa so for him to being exposed to your friend saying such a situation is an ordeal. I definitely know he will have to go through and as a forum. But the what makes this whole thing funny the aspect the people communicating to the government of this country, the people who are giving out the information and as a forum. Because there has been a formal activation of communication between Ken OfORI Attah and the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Any near bia air cost no that former channel no should be activated. Relevant information is be available no must not even come from Ken OfORI Attah. Maybe the hospital by now no, should have been able to establish that link. So Ken OfORI Attah agree that kind of communication can be streamlined. So anything that comes to Ghana no will appear to be an official statement coming from Ken OfORI Attah and the doctors. That one is official. We take it for something value. What the analysis are. We cannot base this whole thing on a theory that has been propounded by a wife. Are you very insignificant in this whole thing? Koso. Obetimia can then some, but the thing is, can the state take some and the wife formally? Abra, the state near ready to go after the person in this particular manner. For me, I think that this whole thing, they are just joking and toying with the people of this country. And I have sat on this platform and I have told you, say, Ken OfORI Attah and you're not being so about Krumase. So Ghanaians should just forget about it. So president, the government, any former channel that has to be activated. So extradition, or the way a man will go after things, Yes, surgery, sometimes you anticipate possible complications because cancer if it is true complications but some of these things must not come from a wife. Say Ken OfORI Attah person taking it serious man the doctors actually formally to the Office of the Special Prosecutor or the people of this country say these are some of the reasons why because we anticipated there may be a possible post-surgical complications we want full recovery for the person and he says this period then so whenever you are communicating in that particular line a man for will take you serious than a wife or any medical way and in some now it's not backed with any fact he will come about resurrected the long held notion and impression. Some of us will say the gentleman is not ready and are not prepared to come to this country because prior to the surgery, and I've told you, say, not on you be another bedridden, or you be a obetimaka or dampum on to me nante, and you want to be magana, or you want to be flight him then as a phone because you see some of these surgeries, ayana and yet your friend is saying, how do you call it? Surgery, an emergency surgery. Some of these things, sometimes a planned surgery. That is why I'm on long term. So it means that you put to sometimes they give you time and whole lot of stuff. And all this time I can OfORI Attah and Ghana back and forth for so Mayo Clinic was so bad faith. He never demonstrated any good faith, say, or Ghana to account for what things that he has done in this country. And said the Mr. Culture, Ghana for are angry and they are in expectant mode. Very often, you say, a castle will be a captain. A man for sympathizer with a person. See, a castle will be area. It doesn't matter. The Nippon or enemy crana, you see, said there is a bit of empathy. But if you go to various social media platforms and you see the way and manner Ghanaians are reacting to this Ken OfORI Attah thing. You could see that there is zero empathy in this whole thing because you know why? Nema Kosu Okroma Ken OfORI Attah at the center of the epic scandals of corruption across Okroma. And we are talking about people who have significantly suffered at the hands of this gentleman. A man from a bank, Papa Kwasindu, when the man is not even well. I will be okay, you mama, man for a Jumura, and they are dying a Kaura and Oteho. Or see about things as a man from Betches in the because God Coast, you know, there are several people, Musika woman, Besino Monsankaye, and there are several other staff at Aircoso. So for me, I think we need to show that seriousness. That Ken OfORI Attah and demonstrate to the people of this country. He is ready to account for his crimes because he is the masterpiece at the center of this whole corruption puzzle. Now, here try to unlock. Said that there be a Mexican, and for me, I think it's very shameful. Said the Akosunina on Nabusian are trying to play and toy with the minds of the people of this country, and for me, that is the problem. And Captain. Nansa me to say let the bia babontia Ken OfORI Attah family na chokoma special prosecutor say omunyi na busia omunyi no mfiri ya fan say Interpol red alert no so na egu family nanima say daben you see and I make say society na team no there is absolutely no shame because say nipa was sense of shame and remorse that would be the last thing for them to do and that was absolutely nonsense. You understand because you see maybe some who say Abra na Ken OfORI Attah ti kroma no gu amanfo bank bon kwase abosia ye de oye ni nyina na family no mu ko vacation wa China and I know more Zimbabwe. They never heard what happened when the gentleman was out there doing all the nasty stuff. Ghana for nyumegu Papa Kwasindium ogu ni bank when we had other options because I mentioned in 2008 America had similar challenges when Obama came. There was a tap that is trouble your friends say asset your friends say district where you reliever are buying on the buyer just to buy all these district companies out of your friends debt and Chase Bank and JP Morgan Chase in more financial way the government and make it available to go and buy this bank because in the financial sector where you then banks will have liquidity challenges. In America last 2 years, about Signature Bank and several other banks, because they all have challenges. Well, what they do is whenever they signal the red signs, then they try either merger acquisition and I say takeover. Then I say for them, these options were available on the table. We proposed to Ken OfORI Attah said, no, don't go after the individuals, don't go after the bank. We're Ghana for a year. He never listened to anybody. The gentleman destroy bank, destroy life. Obi a bank manager, we are not to preko or kwan family no amante. When all this nasty stuff were going on in this country, did you ever hear Ken OfORI Attah or family Okroma say? When even the NPP as a political party, some got peeved and said, no, the gentleman is destroying our party, and for that matter, and the president will have to take him out. You know, did you hear any family? When the guy was here as a finance minister, I sat and I told you that he was sick. Man can't you know? Our program way. So I told you that the guy was sick. And you'll be never catch us all because the guy was puffy. At the time, no, the family no any love for that gentleman. And because Komutuno said, no, Ken, at this time, take a break, go and seek care for yourself. You allow him to hang on because at the time, people were enjoying him. People were flying first class. People were enjoying big contracting as a forum. You never spoke. And until now, Ghana for Ken OfORI Attah family, they are concerned about politics and whatever that happens in this country. Go back to your friends at the banking sector. Among for your friends saying, yeah, the Omodi Omusika. Government bond and family. I think they should give us a break. Some of this nonsense doesn't fly in the face of logic and in the face of reasoning. And we even anger Ghanaians anymore. And it is as a result of some of these things. And in Ghana for are not showing any empathy, sympathy towards the gentleman, despite the health ordeals in Nasafwa Okum. Because I want to hear Nema Wayan Okroma. Now had the current predicament now. There is no way wait me sympathizing with him because a bidum there on one hospital omu papaya Kama pharmaceutical so Senchi mine omu died as a result of all these things and Ken OfORI Attah one way or the other nensa the death of these people because they died as a result of hardship or the almost among for banking sector eku omu okroma nya de ketwa. All these things were going on. We never heard of a family realizing said Niamana Yabano are very dangerous until let us come in. When the guy was foolishly borrowing in this country, or the Sika Kinke party because Wakobobosia, Nanya Dam the Wotima Okobobosia. ya floaty bond why we now was the party and we celebrated some of this nonsense in this country and people thought yes they are the intellectuals. Now we all saw what happened and Nana here tried to get out of the woods. Under him Ghana's economy got junk and all the rating agencies it got to a point that the whole Ghana, a sovereign country, could not step out there to borrow money because the gentleman has decapitated the head of the Ghana's economy. We are so I think that the family, wherever they are, they should just shut up and give Ghanaians a break because you see, we are not interested in those nasty politics because if they had anything sensible to say, a branch finance minister, maybe in Kayeniha, what's all these things? I won't say, Papa Kwasindo, Papa Yomfane, Jabi, military minor captain, what's say on my life in a you think life I say, for a car, Papa Kwasindo, dear man, I have a friend or a medical doctor. Nisika was a good cost. About 500 to 600 million. And I said for Obidia 1 billion, Obidia 3 billion. These things not happen because of Ken OfORI Attah, Bank. If nothing at all, you need to take over because as a government, the economic security of the people is paramount. And sometimes a man for say, I see said that statement is absolute nonsense because as a state, it is your responsibility to ensure that you regulate these financial institutions. Say by Ghanaians will not fall because don't forget that. Yes, I know too. Oh, it's a fact. Yes, what I say? So those vulnerable people, it is the responsibility of the state to ensure that he protect those people. Now, your father saying, "Consider that Onua sorry be a man 40 teams on Kocaine." Now, what more damn about Sarafa? I was
talking to JS and I said that maybe a president and then short down the baby.
Yes, yes. And the party so now things and Yamia CC in the camera born said deeper way Nimyansa or they will suffer. I was as way so by the state, Adumana say those vulnerable people, you take care of them. So in the same way, look at the financial sector now. Obinya tisa dibiaba ebia no nimu hunim dia odnisika me kwa kushem. So the state, award that regulatory mechanism. It is your job to ensure that you take care of these vulnerable people. You don't allow them to fall prey to some of these enterprises. Now, the panel kotom we are. What I say, your friend is saying, Onua ni greedy in and these are things that the financial sector. But your friend saying, Captain, yatsena kromha ama sanye ma we nyina on fodi. Nema say yetimi yamani ye yanye ni economy na Ghana economy da kam enye nyame adom de ne dollar ne cedi na stabilize amaye ka eso slash by down ke ne Ghana ka egu ye so enye ka ketwa. And it's not as if that these people didn't know what they were doing because the whole concept, the whole motive ne say you're taking over the financial sector of this country. Now you're making sure that we own it, we control it. Even in opposition, we'll still be in control. But catch any person, you should know that the most important thing that has to do with impacting positively on human beings. That is the only thing. Because I told the idea, you will need human beings. It's not about the many assets and so forth. But all these silly guys, when they got the money, you know what they did? Nobody focus on humanity building the next generation. And as for Sabaya, Nipa da Sanibe who say, oh, Abraboya yeah boy, man, so these are the contribution, Matimaya, man leave this particular legacy there for the younger generation. Sabaya or Monsono. It is all about ourselves, making sure say we build a financial empire for ourselves, our family, and the next generation to come. So now what we are saying, we are sure say what you know that you push them to a pedestal. They can make life on their own. You understand that? But these criminals will only make sure say they set their children up forever, and for that matter, they will be out of everybody's league. They live with a certain lifestyle. But waye I will come no na sikana de yes money no your sweat your taxes na for na man for didi so for me I think that the states have to be very radical. Makase say John Mahama ban we si dan Ghana ni bia now to talk about bia na say wan go after these criminals. Ghanaians would never forgive him, and that is what he should do. And I like the way the Attorney General is going about it. Look at how few people sat at NSS. yetimi e de nsakobo man sikam sa abayewa we onenam kroma and then wakota football club and then why say people were hailing her left right center. Nobody on his right senses. The question is where is this person getting this money from? Not knowing say they've created a syndicate, a criminal investment, a cartel. And on why and on what's ghost names. They are Ghana and Kwan to your ghost. Now the autistic in Gianaka, and that's a problem. Our ghost names over about 80-something thousand. And yet to me, a first state way sika, ne da quite ya collateralizing their quite loan in as for Sanema when you go to banks are no more yes, they knew the fact, they knew what were going on. So for me, I think time has come for us to set the red lines in the sense near country Ghana and he said, you need a quenya the obenya to serve. But Obana be messy up. The laws of the land, need to deal with you. Say by Ghana for who say or minor, you cannot joke with the country because you see, you create that aura of weakness around us where people come to power, they mess up, and I know that all that they can do. They say, Yamfa ahem from Kopachao, Yamfa Sofoni, Chinian Kopachao, and we will be forgiven. Trust me, we will never go anywhere because there are countries that far larger people that suffer similar fate. The last time I make a the United States of America, Captain, in the year 1973, they had a vice president. Your friend is Phil Agnew. What he did, he's not a senator or Maryland. Under him, at the time, I know a senator, not or evade tax and tax kickbacks and then as for an buyer. When the issue pop up, the people of America make sure said the vice president of the Republic of America will resign. And I'm going to your friend said Gerald Ford didn't buy it. Gerald Ford buy a vice president, a year after, somewhere August 1974. And a president now notice so Watergate scandal falling. That is Nixon. So Gerald Ford is the only person in the history of the world what the vice president and the president of America will be on to Obama because of scandal as we see here. Look at how people have suffered for this. By people mess up and we think so it's okay, he's a big man, he cannot face prosecution, the consequences, everything, and then you wave you off. And that is the kind of argument people are making. So Ken OfORI Attah in the life Ghana, he was dedicated to because and the guy was out there making foolish investments and foolish decisions. And all these things was benefiting him. And it's a reason why I held it on to. Because he was sitting on some of the things that you would on himself or Soroso Kotenafia and once and Baba. At the dying days, Nakufa do Unifio or Unifio will move out of this country. So the air cost not say a master plan or more draw and a play out. So Ghanaians should not fall for some of this nonsense. Aban should make sure say extradition process must be activated and you making sure say these people yamfa omomra kroma and enyanyan no maame na ono so mo convicted no for maslog no so akwatena bonten. I think that process should also be activated. No ono so mo fa na kroma say. You see, we need to be very ruthless in our approach. Now you're making sure say you cannot steal from this country and get away. And for me, that has always been my conviction because Captain, so what to when you call outside Accra. Now you see the way people are suffering then as a foreigner. So such a country, we cannot allow some of these things to happen and then people get away with it. Thank you. Lucius.
Captain.
Bema na Fordjour. Yen Kyei.
Captain Medasi. Mamemfa kwanyes na menchia ahwefu nyina. Menchia ahwefu nyina na menchia NDC fo a benso baje bra be hwe nyina. Na Captain yade de obia ni ho ne o wiase ha onyare. Obia etumi yare e ma ne yi. Enti se koba ne se obedi dwuma di bi na se yade be si ho kwan a eno nko ade yetimi eden yetimi exempt o. Mpanimfo kan se bi se yisai eyi yade. Enti se oye ohene mpo a usai se o se anaju anopa o bibia ye be fra obia no obeden obeba na mmom yade nko ane yade a ebetimi ama ohene ye be fra na obeka se o mintim nyeden mintim emma enti Ken OfORI Attah yare a ote se onipa bia o asase so enti no ebetimi aye nokre se oyare na mmom se woni obi den edi nkita ho a se otimi respect nipa no nso ni nyansa wati ase se otimi ema amanfo hu se onipa yi so onyansa odwen enti no enka in the first place no Ken OfORI Attah se oyare a ye no mu binum ye nya doctors enti no se wo pese oni ye communicate a ni papa mu ye se babi a ukoye a ye hwe wo no se utima saa hospital kro ana se doctor kro no oyeden ochro na otimi edebra OSP na ono nso etimi eden ekenkan se ono kra ntinsem na ewo krata no mu ase a megidie se your doctors akukudam wo ho a bebetimi ayeden akan na ba analyze e bia kire special prosecutor say yade asumasi no wo yeden wo yare me ne wo kasa yi ye timi to ye nsafro OSP to ne nsafro na what make you excuse from January I mean can say February no ho no ne issue we started say oto ne nsafre wa time bia o de yade eni yi ho ano yade na wo di yi ho ano no so nyina na akwa eti say wa mom no te ho no ma o trotron krata e de yede e de bre OSP na ene ya ye kan ho asem yi ene de kra mpo de akwa ye wife o yiri mom ne nne de ono ka kire Ghana fo say yade na o yare no ene wakwa surgery no awie eni nti no obeba in 3 months time. Now the question is that sa information no ehefa no wife edifri ono no communicate as a surgeon ono no mom eye operation no ono no report ya Ghana for ana say or communicate as a personal aid ana say saying wahu nti wotimu say enya dia Ken OfORI Attah na busuafo be respect Ghana for be muye in the first place because ohwe ne ya communication na or the buy no needless na che say krampo de kame akoyete say ono na to information na to abontin say special prosecutor pa onkofa na ohun say ne kunu no ayeden akoye surgery eni into 3 months time ne obeba na unse eni na Ivan o sha ase o ke say special Ken OfORI Attah enye na dwen say obeba Ghana ne aba Ghana china enti eno aho tricks no ayeden wa sha ase a oye no and mene no so ya adwen asasem na okan mene no ya adwen in the first place na enu kwanse special prosecutor nhwe ha ma Ken OfORI Attah efri man
there be said that time no be an issue any arrest order be for him
say na ye information na open say we investigate no and two person investigate na nipa no haro nko ade na ese nka otimi eden wo hwe investigate na ansa na wako be sabre ya wako akodi ho edie ebe eden wahu eni ntino ne me ka dia kwakwa wie say sa way of say Ken OfORI Attah no na busuafo wo ho no ma na busuafo aka ache o say red alert na to wunyini mfiwo wo ho ana na yere enso de communicate eba wo ho ana nti chese kame akoyete say buo na ne benye den be mu Ghana fo this is somebody what na Ghana high say atimi ayeden adi insamoni bebre ama busuafo ho ehwe Ken OfORI Attah ene ode yade eyi no ho ano but time na NPP was nyama bebre ekosu Captain Okai or friend saying man Williams Tevi NCA charge via the ball Williams Tevi about $4 million corruption the scandal papa not every week be no worry na issue na katita esheno but every week be not oko court twice every week oko court twice oko Tuesday no was in court Thursday per sitting be no spend 4 hours until within the week na man no spend 8 hours e court NPP for hu ni mobile say obi a owo renal issue katita shen or court na court na katita shen or the court 4 hours within a week oko twice and nyina chi ba mfa no wanche no besan jeli no 16 years where near NPP for 18 years no asasi so but jeli no 16 years na jail no nyina no osanko maritime hospital every year be you from offense prison no akọ maritime hospital enti other jail nyina no osane hwe no ho yade enti se yetim de yade ye ho anu sei dia e ma ne ye yi a adenti a ho no mom no mutimi prosecute obi nie oyare etwina de no kotu na ho de hu nipa de bawo NPP for no pese sometimes be pese paint picture bi I say be first class human beings dia Bennett ye say be mom ne issue no fa be ho a oh justifiable but say any other person bi ade a ene yemfa no famra kwan so na nsan ya ya chi wu ntumi ana be ye woyo waya yi Kwabnado for case be chi ayi Kwabnado for obi a obeye deputy governor esan be ye governor then time ayi bill terms abedi man no 100 million ene no na ye ayi chairman wu ntumi de be ye hu dede saa enti no captain de ameme kan de akọwie say Ken OfORI Attah obi a wa mamanfo bebre awu Ghana ha wa mamanfo bebre anya ofrensen yade a ne beko be yade what you say banking crisis ya ayi Ivan kan ho asemi now there wasn't any banking crisis bia artificial ban be creative be share that creative say oh na banks no issues because now the minimum requirement are banks no ehia Ghana high say 120 million ne bank kasabetna ase share say yankuku minimum capital requirement emfa 400 million from just 120 million to offering 400 million now for that time ahode ama banks no say benfa ntu asa 400 million no just about 1 month the first can wo he uwie ya nipa no antimi anya sika no antwia wo and the bank no kra no onye liquid eninti no sem ye den me revoke ni licenses obi ho a no afre no say wo pede a and e just say consolidate ya keka bom obi ho a just say ye gu no na wo yes anu ho de gu amanfo banks wo krom ha sei ne nyina no na ye wo Ken OfORI Attah wo na ye den wo da no wo na wo di sa aduma no nyina before NPP ebeba na sa wo Ken OfORI Attah wo banks no business no na enruba bia adri but na hu wo adwempo bi say oh hu pese hu ba be create some kind of financial empire ene yes Japade document na ebeto obi na amanfo ka ho asem no because na ba bin nyina ebe say se bebeduru a beba be create financial empire yengugu amanfo banks yen say amanfo nyuma ene no sa ni betimi ama yen so yetima eden yetima ba be control system no ne ne ba ya se amanfo nyuma organ ha sei last meeting say na we interview amoabe issue no ka say Ken OfORI Attah before obe na say wagu ne bank no amoabe bank no ona oni fia anado no ahu obi a oye wo ankasa wadamfo o timbet na ofie ni hu ene wudidi wonim pefe say o ba begu ne bank eno no kra mpo no wan ka hwe anche no ade a chen ye na wo ho titi mu na ne nipa no te ye ne say wagu ne bank nipa bonefo sem we selfa Dr. Indom bank na begu no wo ni companies dodo na be save wo sa bank wo de ma Dr. Indom krabo from saade no because na companies no dodo na GN electronics GN credit GN farm GN media GN whatever ni na benso be save wo GN bank who collapse banks no sa companies ni na sika na wo GM bank no kwanfa ama no kwanfa miska na ama no sa companies na save wo sa GM banks ni nya sika na wo ho no collapse ne hu CZ hu freeze sa accounts ni nyina na se wotena ase eye obi se ya ena na ayi Ivan Kyei Dr. Ndo na ye friend no adwuma wura ono no create adwuma organ ha manipa bebre enya bi ye no ene minuma ni nyina hwagu no kame akoya te se won create adwuma bi ada you see yentena wiase enye saa ene ya ayi offense ye ka won se na wo ka ayi fo asem wo sofu ya asem about ono so ka se National Cathedral ye ma be $25 million me asambe ma be 25 million Ghana cedis enu mom me den eya de a sika be mom ben sakaye so kame akoya te say enu the 58 million na Ghana for nyina ka ho
I no credit dada o that time na fe ne year 28 na ma o entina no ye Pentecost aso dem Asukwa Church of Pentecost PIWC Pentecost International Worship Center and na all chrim say that time no na ye mo sha say na 3 months into the administration of the cathedral no na buy no more $28 million and $25 million na no na parliamentarians no ntia say but then no sikare beto my account no na nye government money as my papa kan no
and ono oka source say na nye government
money
yes serious na government money wahu enti Ken OfORI Attah adiboni bebre organ ha ya ene no sa ayi public sympathy na ope no on mereke because enam ono ne nsamone a wadi so ama nipa bebre awu kurom ha sei enam ne so ama nipa bebre si sa ayi domestic debt exchange a odiba yi no enipa bebre pensioners ana be sika ewo banks a na at least be pebidia to aduro mpo keke aduro obi a wakọ pension a ono ni sika wo bank o pebidia to aduro keke kura na onya eno so ne masa ayi pharmacies ya wo kan na semi no enam eno so ne odi wuyi how entino captain meno de megidie say Ken OfORI Attah nye ready say opese oba Ghana but ye hear more commitment from the OSP kame akoya say Ghana for asha say kase we benje da hu how committed bia say OSP no what you say and again we ye no fru hon ma ye wo other matters wo why say OSP no o den ohwehwem onye no ohwehwem because Ghana no ya boka ache yes ka kodi amanfo ho ache this is the time say etimi den yetimi retrieve yes ka Ghana ha isi Captain
is done now
maybe that's it hey that time answer oh let me check mam time kaka na yen share rent issue no ketu ana bibi ho person
yeah I think
anything separately
I think that cathedral issue no yes it's issue back on the table so we can't overlook it because opade back on bogan economy tokro pa back on Onua and you see the air cost union have seen said the very people mulidi charge for this senseless enterprise yedi sika ko shame no all of them are feigning ignorance just like papa Kyei say no nim na yedi what to board so na $25 million free baby to account as a reasonable person you are required to know where the money is coming from mebo $25 billion enye sika ketwa
me former chairman akasa sa chere no
se sika to account ma you should be able to inquire to know the source of sanema we na ya te ha yenko no because if we look at personalities we don't look at the deeds that they do because these are people more studied to a higher level no they should be asking all the critical questions me young man Ametia I shouldn't be the one to ask this question they are the grown men or more what that particular intellectual weight to be able to ascertain all this captain yet to come at the time and yes I near man na enkrama you are from north eba kumasi be kaya ye yes yes kaya ya momo and some of the villages, you know, Nipana and Moa and Numinsuo from the same stream. Now we are suffering a mini panel between the Museum for Ghana, Sikankosi Cathedral. When if Rena unity could walk Kolebunu, we couldn't finance people. We answer however. These are issues that we need to talk about. Listen, you see, some of this nonsense and I entertain Okroma or mine on Kosovo because me I I got pissed off when that particular idea
$25 million I got to cathedral
for the cathedral and impact ni there. I'm not no two yeah. Me say Ghana is serious country. That man will not go to.
That I'm on video.
Me say Ghana is serious country. And Kenya sorry and I'm quite now watching it because I'm in jail cell and I'm not watching it because Ghana is serious. It's the reason why they are still working. Yet to come and say. And crank to us, Omo Nenium Free who said that enterprise now was senseless. We didn't need to. Yenya so for one catch as a bonsam for bonsam na boy pa because intra yes sorry tia medjuma. Make sure that we can build hospitals, we can build schools and make sure that we empower young people because in the world no APC. Look at how countries are investing in technology, advances, AI, robotics, and as for them trying to reposition their young kid to take advantage of the world that is emerging because most of the job you need to go digital on digital platforms. You need to train your people to take advantage. So sir, sikana ede yes ane money na. But make a say, see cathedral nyankopon de born be chai. Na 100% nyankopon fa de born be nche no. Captain, we are not serious. Nyankopon de born be chai say civil war ba bete na ye kwa ye heavily food. Ye the man and Israel man and na se for ba be gum. Israel peace im ro way. We need to get serious in this country. Brasa, I never win. I can't answer some chair. They didn't listen. I know the day, it got to a point I didn't jeans and move by a software actual letter. My resign by a way actual letter. Now my resign. And I'm telling you that these people are coward. Even the courage to tell Ghana for say we are sorry because in some muhu ye no ye hu no ye ko mu say na tenti apamacha we are resigning. None of these cowards and was able to apologize to the people of this country. All that they did, they say I have uncovered corruption, so I am exiting where when the crime has already been committed. And America just say Ghana is a serious country. And each one of these people need to be bundled together and they're making sure say we are not witch hunted, but we need to investigate every one of them. Obia exercise discretion, a very stupid discretion, and now so my Ghana lose sikano. We need to. They didn't know say you could judges down to. They didn't know say baby ana ye kwa kwesino na ye be fa man for land. They didn't know say adena ye dey ntimi nya amana na ye betu. Because you are now sat here and I told you said there is no way betimi a complete cathedral ha because funding na asefo ye ne ba ho so makofo man sika. Parliament kwa ya mona mande enti osofo na mugu board no so sika no bae no umbisa hu ba bia sika no free e omo so omo ye fundraising omo kwa bonte kwa ye fundraising no sika ba no mo de ba kroma omo bo mo de ka na bae and I think that you see sa nema we na ya ma manfo play on our emotions for all this why in the name of this God the meaning say yasum nyame do impact on people just to make positive impact say be betimi aboa build the moral faculties in us but then is that what some of the churches are doing? And the church na dan magic na your friend say we na malam sem na yet church na ye obi the bag is one wa chanting na sika gum na ye design na this nonsense we are displaying for people to watch. I think we need to get serious and move beyond some of these things. See your church and the whole essence of church and say yam building the moral facilities within people so by people will be responsible, integrity and that kind of way. Look at the society. The moral fiber of this society is shattered and broken. You can't trust human beings now. You can't trust the right thing. We push people to government. Even churches nankasa corruption. This is the responsibility of our religious institution, both Muslim, Christian, and as a form. And magic, and the answer making sure that you impact positively on people. Sabaya CaptainSmart bedin okre. CaptainSmart yet neko to baby. Because of some moral foundation, look at the society we live in. Do you see those things? Because the churches have moved from that moral education, magic. And I take over the space. Nobody is teaching Obi a choir ankasa. And the reason why we are here. So for me, I think that we need to set a sample with these people. Now you're making sure, say, next time you'll be very careful. It doesn't matter where you are. See a casa cathedral ho na ye be ye nneema bi se ya dwene ho na dwene ho mienu se sika na ye de mame no eye mra kwan so na ya fa ye de mame na se sa nneema we nyina is not as if they didn't know. They knew because some of us were out there telling them all these things. Any say yes, I know. They never listen. Let me back to the rent issue. Look at the problem. Housing deficit. Because and then housing a big issue. And this is can think into me. You tell about me promises or behind my young people. Now young people be buying behind movie. empower the people, let them work, or work or not behind them. I don't need government to rent for me. For how long? You understand?
That's right.
Provide them job. Or Jumana out of the proceed, no one can behind them. Housing deficit is all over. Sadly, my we are not more. So, Captain, I think the rent issue is one issue. Government will have to pay attention to because Accra, a idea draining a lot of young people. And then the man hire, yes, 2 years, 3 years. That's the kind of amount. But Emrao Hose, you can't even take your rent advance more than 6 months. Emrao Ho, I think the parliament is working on that particular law to push it to 1 year. But these things are not working. So I think that Adebakwa government touch about Ghana for pay those areas. We need to say president say new capital. For me, I think that at this time, it's unnecessary for now because you see, if you look at some of the towns like Uko, your friends say Teshi Labad in Nasafona. Some of our dynasties, why don't you come out with a plan and redevelop these areas? Land never we see how you can give the ground floor to the family, then the about Tosso Abontimbiano. Government can rent it out, people will have a place to stay, and it will decongest Accra. We don't need to move to go and build new city everywhere. Right. I think that decongestion, say yes, I need a bit to create space for a month for a take away some of these challenges. All right, Nana Machina, I was saying, I love listening to Ivan. Is he married? No. Yes.
Ivan is not married, but you are engaged. Lucius,
that's it.
That's the message he sent to me.
Why?
That's what Cabona no pay.
Oh, sir, Casa, Ntino, say. Oh, Casa, no, I mean, can say involuntarily, ever.
As I don't pay.
Captain, National Cathedral, dear, we say Yaka, Bibri. Corruption, Yasu na a Kahubi, any ma, Sani Manuina, 18 day, 18 Koso. Say, President Sorry Kase or ye project BTSA. In the first place, Moons okay say, and now there's obey or mine sika. Time and another, and I've been said or Babisi National Cathedral, or can say, now the obey or mine sika, maybe I day, EDS. Now, every actually, say obey you or mine sika, and I say you or mine sikano. Assassin now Quacosino, so now your mind, dear. Assassin so crying and ye petema assassin and Edaho. Asasi na yewo project bebree ewo so yewo buildings bebree wo so a ukobubu ayi adan no yeden etugu yi uye no so craft ho no ma o ka se obeba be ye ayi appeal for fund bio se den na enu mom ne wo de ekwakwa de wo de kwakosi na manfo ebi sa se ntu ye sure say sa appeal for fund na oba be ye no enu mom betimi asi National Cathedral ene no me gidie se asofo a bedbeto board no so a na be hwese National Cathedral na ebesi no be mum na ese nka be di nokre what you say ha be mum na ese nka be di nokre na mum nokre die bi antimi anyeden antimi ama
be da di nokre anya omo na omo san like forest ay omo se galam so omo koto ye na ya sase ni se ko paye no this are hypocrite
wahu enti no nokre die antimi anyeden antimi ama captain hwe se ye trans na eso Nema bi musu say ya won Ghana no enya de a yebekoya nim da what you say ene me no wo kase no sa National Cathedral na ankasa kra no me gidie say bibia na course ho me tin say ayi bribi say president ke say be ye hu adumo say bisa me feel say e ho no kra de no kwan say ye diska bia ko ho bi
ebi onsi mahama onsi
ai enu kwan say diska bia ko bi
also de be ye Mother and Child Hospital.
Good. Enti ayi board na yesete up no so no they should call them to account. And in the enya say bi ababa be che say ye the 25
so for account we say you call for account. Why so for nko jail?
Oh, say yan ka say jail, say ya mo
sika. Ah, account $25 million and you to grow na da ono.
Na say mutu so for account for Hong Kong.
Oh, say na person ka you person nyam kaseti.
Mutu so for.
Captain, well you
say person nyam kaseti.
Captain, unu say ohene ba so nto ate. What you say? Aha, ye to ate na say wo de wate be siso a. Na onim say ye di na obeka say wo ye hene ba ntima ye mfa ate na.
Na nto ate no bi.
An ye nto ate no bi. enti unim say oye sofo na de to board so na bia sika fa ansa to na ye be flow for accountability na le obeka say oye sofo nti ane ye flow board bia so a enko what you say na mo okonko ade na say the sika ma wa enye enough say obegina Sunday ma kire sika e be to account mu
Ghana for na here on press conference
on board so no da na da Ghana board so enti sabre we say no se betim be den e be account o account ya na say ayi hu so a say ne ayi bele say uti mfita nti amwanku so ahu enti no benya da obenya oti adidim eni nti no corruption he ya adoso he ayi na no abaya ya on na national service ho no he ne why no ayi gan ono de ya kromfo ankasa what I say because niema na oye no ho no say what na ase na say odwen no tumi say o share that pass say on ni kunu be bo Ghana fo kro no because want to inflate ayi figures national service for a be wo ho no na ayi number no why no times be 2 na wo mom odeko na say the sika no ma wa na wa divert the akogu offense and private account wo wie so a wo tim national service for din be 900,000 now what they are serve as a collateral now they are secure loan about 30 million so their man e krono ankasa na sa ba yo na dwen se obebo oman no what you say enti entim ntena se enso so sa nema we so sa se ka se ye tena se ane oman no bebo
me da se ebusanfo ne kwasem wonyame nim se yesi ye bedi NPP for krono omobo ye chia wo me do nyame na do fie of flowers na e betutu akodua no wonsam
and you bring about catcher no the one or styling on the name very simple but classy. Now is innocent and I didn't know innocent but not innocent. I'm so innocent. Allow.
Extremely innocent.
What you say? Or the extremely class I can. We can not say. Say I had a be an room
so far so good. I think issues are not warm this one Ghana city further saying, and I think the video now had social media who say trendy and casa because disinformation and there was so I think that clarify most of the issues are even other media houses were even playing as a forum. So I think that is good. That is what we do. Always, just try to explain these key things. I'm for better say because politics and very often, I'm for who is a microphobia, right? Yes, and it's can be, but simple is for us. So I think that is what we try to do. Sabaya will be a bit to me and access to information. Sabaya will make key choices and political decisions. Be informal. Going to mean trying convince will be as a political party and I say, but we need proper information. Now, one as a reasonable human being who analyze it. I think they bet me out to most of the emotions in a way. So I think that's so far so good. They're at that table, so this Ken OfORI Attah back and forth and unless a strike as a forum, but we are still on it.
All right, the first 5 minutes me person can send me and sabi boom and mammy. Number one, I be a back Ken OfORI Attah the so property me ye and wefrim. But honorable Kojo upon Chroma say NPP are ready say womobema NDC are buying a foot watches one bachelor mo kwan send ye boom mine more mine successful. Kwaduamu ye dear and Shadanya de bebo mine Ghana and see they should make themselves available said a NPP a bachelor or more quiet fast why you boom mine. They are ready and they are available to teach them how to govern and be successful. It's a no ye honorable Kojo upon Chroma dear or they abeshim no year kwame pianim can send be a Jubilee House and I think say very important now or ka say a teacher for Akufo-Addo a promise we 10,000 housing units was a blog okura wan to best President Mahama says so say we year reset in there and your own Kyei asem so betime ye bibia fa ho na I think say no there was a program at Jubilee House akwame pianim or you be a wanyi a NPP modimu akotene corruption ne de keka ho de wakasetia wono so kwakire na adwen se ne corruption ekoso wo Ghana ne se de ya hwe yi a ebetimi amakuru ya bo o kire na adwen e wo kwan ya obetu President Mahama for say obetimi tu ho anamo see the first 5 minutes no ebi ansem ni bi wo kra akọ so okrom any social media ye fa analyze ye wi na afa yakọ next strike no eso.
Okay, yeah. I think that we are catch say leadership and the governance in this no get cheaper and cheaper on daily basis. And we've gotten to a point that there are some people or more behavior on the political stage and until people don't take politics leadership serious anymore. Because very often the very people you expect much from them no one omokasa what one wabamabu. And this gentleman, over his life, has been on radio, on TV, Kasa, as we are seeing and as a phone now on the team, but Onya Kenya and Akufo-Addo, that privilege was handed over to him. This is a gentleman who could not even manage government information, basic thing information. He could not even manage it because within the media or get it so dirty and milkier in the history of this country. The Akufo-Addo government, and this guy was in charge of managing government information. So Onua Nkasa portfolio na he was a failure. You know he was a change obedient as a foreign buyer. So clearly give you the signals of what the kind of person he is. At some point in time, he now was a YouTube channel now or a podcast as a minister of state. In the dying days of the year going into the election, that was what he was doing. So, and America walk can sometimes it's very easy, very cheap, just to make those sweeping comments in a statement. But the reality dawn on you. And he had that opportunity. Yes, Oyagana knew Kenya to teach Domahama and NDC how to govern and so forth. The question is, before you set yourself to teach somebody, the question is, when you had, it's not as if you've not had opportunity to be in power. What I say, if Odikeka say, and I say any of the opposition parties now win an opportunity to taste power before I say, or Mahama how to govern, I'll pay attention and listen to what they have. But these are guys, these jokers recently were booted out of power because of historic incompetence and recklessness when it comes to governance, leadership. And the Akufo-Addo regime, we all saw what happened in this country. And the era no abaye a tainted way. I leave an indelible ink on the conscience of Ghanaians. Abaye a nightmare. Ghana don't even want to remember what happened in the last 8 years. And your friends say within the information space, journalists in this country, how many were hounded? How many were attacked? Journalists were chased out of this country. At the time. Journalists were assaulted. Some were kept in prison in as a form back and forth because they were doing their job, criticizing government and bringing the critical issues to bear. This guy was a minister of state. What's in the voice?
Yeah, baby.
So, Anamakacho said, answer now you set out to speak, you know. You need to make sure that you have credibility. Maybe you are somebody people will take serious. You matana on my way so, and in the last 8 years, you know, if there is any government useless in this country, in the history of this country, it's the Akufo-Addo government, and he was part of it. The blueprint is there, and we can just go through, if nothing at all, look at the economy of this country, the way and manner. Even the city, they could not manage it. City, we got to a point that prices of everything was over the bar, and I know can who been a Ghana for dear before now home tia koto abati Akufo-Addo the history of this country a billion cedar. And that government wasn't just about mismanaging competence and as a for Onua Nkasa, family and friends, state capture and as a forum, use state entities, yes, some special purpose vehicle just to ensure that money will go into the pockets of the cronies and friends of government. At the time, where was he? You understand? These are shameless bunch of individuals who always take the stage because politics has become cheap because credibility doesn't matter in our politics anymore. You can just say anything and get away because these are guys and almost said them because of what they have done to the people of this country. Because Ghanaians had hope, high confidence in the Akufo-Addo government bringing all these people on board and as a foreign because it was somebody, several other people who have been within the space. Coming on board, no, people felt so, Akufo-Addo plug from intellectual kind of way, just to bring some intellectualism to bear. But not the day, it turned out to be a young who in the history of this country. recklessness upon recklessness, incompetence upon incompetence, mismanagement, your friends are corruption. Just say, Okasa wo can sem na wunwie. And out of that, they are two about a tia, just to your friends play your cards well, just to win the goodwill on the side of the people. Now, man, for take you serious. You are out there talking nonsense, because if there is anybody to be taught how to govern, I think that they should sit back and learn what is going on. Because John Mahama Baye, yes, a very young koye, but clearly you could see few signs there. The dollar is stable. Petrol now man for the 17 city despite taxes and as for about muye de and Rameko. Your first filling station we call check away 11.59 something.
Maybe I'm at 10.99.
Exactly. So
10.99.
People were buying the first petrol at 17, and as for I'm told that cement price about for my from 140 and then minimum ton say 92 say 82 thereabout. These are the kind of relief a Ghana for and this is governance. I am not saying that it's the best, but for where we are. And if we do any comparative analysis, there is no way with the last 6 months way what has transpired, or be compared to what happened in the last 8 years. Yeah. So I think that these guys should just shut up. Usually they don't know how to keep quiet. You understand? And I think that most of them are turning out to be attention-seeking freak. When they lose power, now quite an China. So very often, as all about can be been among phones so. But when they were in power, they were all quiet. You understand? Sure. Because there was a time when people needed Kojo Ponkroma with his media joy, whatever experience, just to rise against the tide and their course within the space. Government information basin was sinking, and this is a journalist. At the end of the day, they couldn't save it. You couldn't even save your outfit to the sense that Akufo-Addo government got drowned in the kind of way and someone lost the information war because it got to a point that people were not even ready to go on TV and go on radio to defend the party because there was absolutely nothing to defend. It was utter nonsense that was being bandied around all over. So I think that these guys should just shut up. Watch what is happening. They are Ghanaians. It's democracy. Mahama Mamone and DBR right. So as a citizen, you can bring the government attention. That is what you can do. But to say Ghana for Monsieur MPP, if MPP as a political party in the last 8 years had anything to offer to the people of this country, a chrono, recklessness, incompetence, and the economy, and unfortunately enough, look at where the dollar is getting a bit stable. Petrol prices in Nasafonum and Yawu anywhere chrono a course who chroma and yard because I'm a catcher say wound to me as a person sika that was invested in him as an individual as to change sika called Ashanti region. Because I'm still searching that there is no single project in Ashanti region that was started under Akufo-Addo was completed the cost anywhere close to about $55 or $60 million. But this guy 8 million 45 million plus extra 10 million. Yeah, the forest man, Sika Onya, quantifier over millions of dollars. But there is no single project in the Florida of the MPP at the Ashanti region where they get their vote. I won't say project way say that you other people are benefiting. There is none. It tells you the kind of government or mobile. You understand? Yeah. It was an avenue they created to satisfy their insatiable greed. Just to extend good wishes to their cronies, allies. Akufo-Addo by Nabusia for and Nam for them. You see the way they enjoyed. You know, for them. When that thing was going on, nobody spoke. And then Matisse said, "Ken OfORI Attah Busia for bold enough to issue." When the nonsense was going around, when the guy was foolishly borrowing, when the guy was using his personal way just to offer advice to finance ministry borrowing and na family no the nonsense that was being thrown around, the family didn't see the need to intervene. Ghana for bread. Even MPP ministers and partner MP sorry say no yankasa na party ni afono yen adia Ken OfORI Attah the family member the family people na wanya kokodro you see and America there is no shame in the society where we live. When the gentleman was foolishly out there dissipating the resources of this country, yantin the family member because they were enjoying traveling first class and as for Kocaine and as for them. When these people were foolishly using our money to go and dig a hole in the name of cathedral, where were they? You understand? Is that the kind of good governance Kojo Ponkroma is talking about? I think that these guys are a bunch of shameless people. Nobody on his right senses will take them serious. They should just shut up and watch what is happening. And Americano, they can either transform themselves into a competent opposition party or they can be what they are today, a very useless one, very incompetent, even in opposition. And we've gotten to a point, I think that Ghana for coming to understand politics to a extent. So you see, some of these cheap politics and this kind of street propaganda don't win any value. They don't have any currency. If you want to convince the average young person out there, say, dwell on the issues, the critical issues, because politics and what then the comparative analysis will come. I just said the last 8 years of Akufo-Addo, the indelible scar I leave on the conscience of our democracy. Ghana for freedom, free that. So an agent of that particular government, any right to come and educate anybody on governance. When Ukraine dollar and as for now, they were telling us nonsense. Say Ukraine-Russia war, now Ukraine-Russia war, you see, these are a bunch of shameless guys, and America say you're cheaping politics, and it's the reason why people don't take politicians serious anymore. And Ghana Nibia who politician not doing so be a con man, because that is how we've created. We've made it in such a way, say, we have power now. Whoever you want to satisfy, be whether I agree with the party team and I agree in the team, we draw all of them because bazana be diako. I know that they know there is no bit of intellectualism, idiocy taking over the political space, even at the hub of governance and leadership and so forth. So it liberates some of these fools to come into the political space. They do the worst that they can. Just imagine a fool who has been given a free ride in power. Because our power will be able to. So I think that Ghanaians are really getting serious. You see, let us do intellectual discourse. Now you follow the issue. And you know what to talk about, and criticize government, because these are some of the things I ever just to shape in the whole political landscape, for the benefit of not even those in power, but for the average and the ordinary Ghanaian. It is not about my better position. There can be a negative. Nanka Petro with both me teba from Nakwabrande say me demonstration. No more dama. When it was 17, demonstration, because from there will be goodwill. Abraham 17. Why didn't you tell people to demonstrate? You understand? So, and America said these people are really advertising who they really are. And your friends are pretending to be intellectuals, but in reality, they are not. That was why the last time I told you, say, we prioritize certificate. When I'm a certificate, say, what did you agree in the party? Because your castle will be an intellectual. Very often, you don't need to go to your house. Work of our certificate about what the hell be or no casa. People should know, this guy. You understand? But this all courses with certificate that's what we do. That means what I said. I think empty. We must begin to demonstrate to people, say, we are really intellectuals and but empty. That can be assessed in the way and manner we think, we speak. Say, man for confidence, inspire, man for. Because in the last 6 years, I am very fresh on the minds of Ghanaians. Why will any person in the Akufo-Addo government and the near Ghana for corruption? I will come now. Kwabranye Tibenya Kukudu no better radio say they should come on school. Now I'm a journalist and sometimes they create a free room for some of this nonsense to thrive. Now besides say in the last 8 years, information ministry were you able to manage it? You understand? The warfare, the information warfare, and the Akufo-Addo government, and the government got drawn because you could not defend the kind of Neman of social media. It got to a point that the Akufo-Addo government was out. People were not even out there defending the government, but he was the information minister. So for him, he is an article of incompetence. But because fortunately they had media platform, then as a phone to they were able to convince people, say, on more credibility. But they came to government and exposed themselves. So for me, these guys should be disregarded. They are all attention-seeking freak. They are fading into obscurity. They are fading into irrelevance. And sometimes, in order just to your friends are kicking people to know that is when they begin to make some of these foolish statements. Because in some now cannot bear any reasonable way be when the track record of the party, even your own people admit it, is the worst version of the NPP that we've ever had in this country. I told you, sir, when you sit down and do the NDC MPP comparison, I don't even fall for them, because the Kufuor version of the MPP isn't what Akufo-Addo brought. Akwasa me last time I catch us akwasa war Benz na wo de war your fence aka na omode fa nipa na kase no 207 no be behind so the cover asorofo whenever I also the ko wiam ponche the number bi the MPP as a political party was hijacked by these criminals and omode ensem hu so the actual Kufo MPP wasn't the MPP. You understand? These are a bunch of criminals who hijack the political entity called the MPP and use it for their criminal activities. And all of them are part of it, you understand? Because they were benefiting. Because if not, why will anybody on his right senses, after seeing all that has happened in this country, will be able to be bold enough and come to the media space and say, oh, Momra, you want to how to govern? I think, you see, they do this because they don't respect the people of this country. And maybe they are still living in the past. Maybe some of the guys in the MPP they don't realize where Ghana is at the moment. Now. You see, they still think, say, we are in the 2000s where those cheap propaganda don't fly. But then I'm telling you, say, Obi Asebi owns school demu dakrano. What a children or a lecture on politics are we show. Do you know why? Because there is a free flow of information within the space. Now, so for whatever you believe it or not, there are a lot of tons of information going out there. People are reading, people are getting a bit enlightened, you understand? First, you know, and yes, I emotions, me as anti-me, I want to need me a way kind of politics, and that's how go off. People are beginning to follow issues based on the cons and the pros in it. How I stand to benefit as a Ghanaian, and the larger governance sequence, you know, how is it going to impact on the future? Me as a young person, look at the level of desperation that Ghanaians went through in this country. And then I hear documentary we are Ghana for young people call Russia say omo kwa kontokwa e binuma ba omo nan ba ko obi sin nyina se na nu nyina artificial and as for course okotia bomb so just say it's so messy. Because of the desperation that was chasing people out of this country. And people were making millions. People were pocketing millions. This gentleman knew Onua Akoso under the MPP. And today, suddenly, no, saying, yes, sir, these guys are shameless. And within 6 months, will you be bold enough to be doing some of these things? So I think that you see, politics is not cheap, you know. Because in any serious country, you know, you will not have some of these characters running around the media space trying to criticize Obi because the moral conviction and the moral justification for those things are not there. When you have messed up, mess in our creating, we are not even junk. Your friends saying clean it up. Yes, can't want some kind and then you are out there talking nonsense. But in your politics, they're cheaper. Why would people even give ears to some of these things?
All right, and who do I say for the whole week, you know. And as I say, you'll be any abra ye necessary one more aqua strike. And nipa a wunyasem ketua. And I know na make a madam for Bissima come and yemasha and say, maybe Madam for you a ye juma ewa mochre. Na make us say, no be a juma much and for them say, now the ye juma. Now information I know the mammy and now ahomete. Say a nipa a wuno. Just say, one more general montiasia, them dear ya womu cry. Obi wo ho no ma ne de no nke hyeda nye ade bia ye serious bia sa na so ye de be ko na sanse nurses no striker even first aid kura be ye de no nipa ne prea no wa famawu there was a video anope na me kan wase ma me hu wo Facebook na lady no asumwa se ne ofa yare ye de ne ko hospital nurse ni no ehwe ne ofa na yire nanim ka che ne se omo wo strike no wo ho em say that time no na omo fa krado nkotu mu but o ka che ne se omo wo strike em omo san ye se omo tam papa na ko private hospital omo andru na owuye na lady ni ye video wo Facebook and wo ka se nurse ni no wada na se say or share the wofa nanim ka che se omo wo strike na ne fofa no akwa akowu enkwa de ye ba akopɛ enti ye ka nkwa ho asɛm ane owu asɛm a ye de ani bre ane passion ane eka demands na ye nuanom nurses for na ye no agya me ye sure say Ivan ye wanim sem but ye me mbobo so say be ye agya Ghana fo be hu de ye kan hu asɛm wo ma asɛm mo ka mo pe uniform allowance wo mo pe tools allowance tools no minimara se mpania ne niema omode yesagwe ne mpane niema ekeka ho no eno ne tools no omo pe no so omo so personal tools bia because the minimum say nurses there and as a hospital esiwa ya ban adwum asede so make sure say equipment and as logistics egum nurse ni no unim de and I require juma. And see gloves to cry what the best one son. A yaban said yes, I was for Tomau. And see sa allowance no more pedia come a cut you on well. I don't know, say a bambe jais and your man to no mumako todia. Almost per additional duty allowance, or more per call in allowance, or more per commuted overtime allowance, omo pe permanent posting allowance, temporary posting allowance, omo pe funeral grants. In fact, funeral grants no crowd here enra yes perpetual says are buying to me to no ye 600 million Ghana cedis otua e bi on be consider funeral grants ne nyina ye say obudihye bi we was aban tua was eba wasika enti minimum how they are going to calculate it. Is it as and when I would this year wu and every month beyond here they say sika na ka ho amount what they try say would this year be wu and what I don't know but and a fuel allowance but allowance is now maybe boss no ebi wo ho no executive ne pen be benefit nurses no kra no makọ strike and then no some of them will not even benefit so fuel nya do bi nurse ni a strike be nya bi perpetual ne executive no high for no money benya and omo per 13th month allowance omo per on call facilitation allowance omo per non basic allowance and omo per height allowance ni say omo say hospitals ni bu ono ma ya banso to aso 1 2 3 enti bu ho omo froko first floor second floor to the more now all co floor ne all co soro no heights omo per allowance and omo per disability guard allowance to say bia obi aba hospital na say bia nani afira ana bia oti wheelchair mu a was nurse ni ne piano ana nani afira nurse ni be so ne nsa no na kwotena ha saa niema na wo mo yema disabled people no wo mo pe ho allowance so eno ne nkoma a eda table so a na ka 2024 1st July and akufado aban esan ye in fact all kind document now or say and it shall be implemented from 1st July 2024 shall na she woni nyina chi omo implement it nti afa na nurse fo ne ni abra omo say omo ju omo allowance nti innocent asema da proso no.
Yeah, I think my mention the legendary KSM.
Hey, and your uncle senior. Yes, salutu.
He's a great man, always, you know. Contribution to whatever that is happening. I think he's amazing. Yes, yeah, I think this nurses demonstration strike thing is very pathetic. Because some of the entities no more render essential services. Nurses, doctors, police officers, military, those kind of way, because services are such that whenever you revoke your services, you put human life at risk. So that's and the money your friend is saying very way. Anti-constitution no ne emra o kroma labor law no outline processes ne na for because obi peeved about the working conditions, salary na for there or nipa, you cannot stop people from expressing dissatisfaction about the conditions of service. And as Niema go no, there are a whole lot because I'm telling you, sir, being at the hospital, the risk involved in some of the things that you do.
Innocent were a nurse.
Yes.
So when you my innocent were a nurse, and see, well, almost is a funeral grant to you. Oh, and I have a height allowance.
Amazing. So yeah, I think that is very pathetic. Sometimes I know a medical doctor now or perform a procedure on somebody.
Yeah.
And and I think that there was a gush of blood, a puba, and a good name. Unfortunately, the person was HIV positive.
Jesus
so what
Christ.
It means is
automatically.
I'm saying all this just for people to appreciate the depth of issues now.
Yeah.
And now I've always been advocating. So you see. The emolument structure in this country, you know, are very pathetic. But the same person, your first near mana nurses a demand some of the conditions near mana woman, some are absolutely nonsense. Absolutely nonsense. It doesn't make sense. And me, I don't blame nurses, I blame the leadership. Because you see, nursing leadership over the years has been very, very, very pathetic. It's the reason why most of the young guys and girls coming in, will be a film. So nurse in your now a diabetic, now call a anesthetic, or be caught no acquire way. Everybody's moving away from the space because leadership over the years, you know, I'm for now, I'm more better, they don't even think about the welfare. I remember there was a time they were paying nurses student allowance. yes, my for nurses cannot sondo, a nurses for near. So this is the leadership. They don't fight for their own. So over the years, nursing leadership has been very pathetic. Very, very, and nurses know. Even go to the various ward that your friend is a metro for no more no. They don't even care about their own nurses. They always advocating for Nema. You can go to a hospital and say, okay, what is now more no? Yeah, more allowance. You bet me my nurse need 100 Ghana cedis. Me my doctor need maybe 2,000 Ghana cedis. Look at the gap. But metro no will not see anything
wrong with it.
Yes, but nurse we will spend much time at the bedside, do all the dirty jobs. It's the nurse. And there are facilities you go, there is no nurse. But the same facility, no, I'm not a child, doctor, nurse is not money.
Yeah, money be need.
I will not blame them. It's the leadership that is there because they don't know all that they are interested in. I bet you're born.
Yeah.
They don't care about the work. So over the years, I never way you know na burogusua ma do na film. Do now because you see that there is no future because of bad leadership. And there are things that it's not even right to say, but I think that's very, very terrible. But yeah, with him said yes, no. I'm worried about the kind of politics in this country because so what is happening within the space now. We cannot be sitting with GMA today. Doctors now more the aba na ya demonstration we are na teachers na ya nurses na ya there is no country that will survive doing that. So for me, I think that we need to look at our emolument structure aggressively. Now you say why they take a risk at the hospital? We say make a candidacy for the marshal. But don't forget that police in here deployed on bank and so it's the same. It's at the same risk. Because at bank and I'm Robert Bar. He's the first person.
I'm a target.
So you wait me now young guys bullion vine and for a so you come what I say. So everybody is at risk. So as government, I think that what we need to do and they say Yabaka sa money boom. Now you assess the risk level of all these individuals. Now you draw a comprehensive package. I cover some of these. In the absence of this, then some of these things are likely. Or we are marked somewhere. Doctors will come. The
teacher for so beba.
Teacher for will come. And with the government, and a trade of nonsense. Always you are in banter. And Nippon say and I'm saying there are more bargaining advantage because I will draw services. I will be in hot waters. And they will continue to do some of these things to you. So I think that one of the things that and their emolument structure because there are nurses our real degree. As for them, salary being taking 3,500, 4,500. And as for them, what I say, and very pathetic. So for me, I think that we need to look at the basic salary structure. Now you're making sure say you improve on. Then as for them, about demonstration strike and also. Now you improve on. Now you must say. Baby and the pano ya juma biano obia is okay with your own yan and as a form. And I think that say to me, yes, I mana a better key away this bargaining chipper. Very often some of these entities and a whole government to ransom or my juma or my essay, my draw my services and as a form. Conditions of service will be here. Now I will tell you conditions of service. Here, but you see, sometimes the way you go about it. And there are roadmap. And this particular strike, and I think to be very honest with you, because you see, this and is up.
I was striking.
Oh, maybe striking. Yeah, because of the same nursing leadership.
Okay.
Issue need very confusing. People don't understand. To be a free baby, emotions.
Okay.
Sa package na ye kana sa your friends package na ye kan was a collective way na agreement na omo make here no it's a paper under Akufo-Addo government no omo te ase na ye fe omo agree but components na ewom no people did not pay attention to Niema na ewom because at the time now we were going into elections Akufo-Addo government at the time no could not afford to be engaging nurses back and forth because once they be it was going to affect the government. At the time, okay. So, on the package in the bar say package in the they agree on virtually everything. They agreed on everything.
Okay.
And now, the government then you cannot blame Akufo-Addo government in this because they were going to implement it. Then the nurses, psychiatry nurses took the issue to court through an S party. Say no. Agreement no more agree no. And ya dear say GRA in the no mother body no because then the bodies be braba no. And no one transit and no one can. And the no agreement no my be one transit into the issue no court. Issue no court and then the psychiatric nurses won. So back and forth issue no court to no pull it out to be area no. Now you January. Now you January yo Akufo-Addo tukofie ama mahama aba ama yaba January. Budgets at the time already had been prepared. Government didn't necessarily so the reason why I'm blaming nursing leadership say involved in idea where Akufo-Addo implement the court no back and forth now election is over. And I'll be happy because the burden has been good. But you see, let's say governance is continuum. The mere fact that Akufo-Addo ensign doesn't mean that John Mahama ensign. Fine. This is a government that is barely 6 months old. Yeah. There are structural former or a cost baby government require for
and certain way you and forming way.
And you can still press and engage the government with your concern, but to threaten and say that may cause strike when the procedure and the processes that are outlined won't follow. People have taken a very belligerent position. They say we are done and yeah say yabba. And I've listened to a couple of interviews or granted, which you could see clearly intellectually she's very, very febrile. In some no can say or mature mind will not be making such comments, and either she's motivated by politics or whatever. I don't know. Obia or concern what he has a woman but the way she's doing as if that is a government that has been in power for like 3 years and on engaging. This is a government that has been in power for barely 6 months. You cannot declare strike within 6 months when negotiations with the government hasn't gone on. And Sanya Mana Kosunina, Nona, Emma Manfo say, okay, Sanadia, Nemana Mubisano, young Kona young Koshim. Yakobia Krata near Koshima. Kwabrane say me yeah adwuma wa abrosan so first floor meji 2 CD 50 pesos a day. Say third floor 20 centimeters meji 3 CDs a day. And me yeah adwuma fifth floor na say for no meji 5 CDs a day. Yeah. Who on his right senses as a government will agree to this pack of nonsense? Say see it here. Okay.
First floor.
And with here Smith budget salary at channel because of the floor. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And I sympathize with my salary and very bad. So this energy they could have confronted government not in salary. Catch on the basic salary now and we deserve better. Yes, don't put up this nonsense and say make floor back make floor me. People will not even take you serious. But Akufo-Addo government did not pay attention to those things because
election
but and the government now all try to reset through look at so now they were saying answer anymore what TV what I say and I was expecting question on nurses in Penifon by catching up by say first now the we had nurse now the car if I want by a free man and that thing has been taken away. I was expecting nursing leadership to be fighting for those things. Dr. Sidia has been put on hold. These are sensible things bizarre nipa we are serious. What I say and again almost a funeral grant.
Aye, funeral grant.
Does it make sense? And the amount of money involved is over 600 million.
600 million Ghana.
Funeral grounds in what sense? Like, funeral we no abanya djuma no obi nya bi nchen obi o and I make say the risk obi ade ho but ya say aban agree to some of these and I'm telling you so everything na teacher ni ya say almost we nya risk ugina akasa from Nana Poku say anwumre no so you see a time will come we are going to open the floodgate obi abeba say funeral because what funeral ground amobia you have to
pay for a teacher.
Adia ba kwa yes make sense in the woman 13th month no you see 13th month no there are companies omutia I was working for a company Christmas they will pay you double they do but you see this a policy you cannot introduce to a section of workers what I say because 13th month you know say you're widening to policy in here 13th month. So you cannot exclusively say 13th month. It's going to create agitation. Doctors will come and ask for 13th month. And I make us you see when you have that collective bargaining chip as an entity now who make it demands be reasonable. Say ya some no can. Because any day So be a nurse salary nya, I'll be the first person to fight. Yes, salary nya. Let us make sure say we pay nurses well. Because how can a degree nurse be working and be taking 4,000? I cried 4,000 times a month.
Yeah, now rent to cry.
Exactly.
Rent to
So as a nursing leadership, you know, these are some of the things you engage government with. Allowances and so forth, they are good, but you see, very often when you are advocating for allowances, people don't take you serious. But when you want salary discussion, and I know there are roadmap and so forth, but you see, when that particular thing is very aggressive, you the government in your engagement because of the work you do. The salary structure to a certain extent, you know, can be improved on.
Yeah.
But some of these demands and you see that the whole thing has become a subject of public ridicule.
Yeah.
I'm for a kind of science, so they now one now I'm for a funeral. So when you do that, you bring yourself, people will expose you. On me pick up some of the things and I will feel no, not yet. And again, one thing people don't understand is GRNA. A nurses entity organization, a mother body association, and then a nurses for you. What people don't know, they say, Oko, your friend is a health sector now. Some person will engage your banya. The bargaining chip now, you're entities, you know. Health sector now, or what time or they're my GRNA, the mother body. So, on a legitimately, ultimately, buying her. And bargaining certificate no no bargaining. But yeah, very I people don't know ni say entity way entity made up of those who work in the private sector. Every single nurse, whether you work for government or not, you are part of this organization. Okay. So we are nurse you ma banyo we nurse ma banyo. So there is a possibility say obi betimi aba be GRNA president abra onye aban adwuma ma aban ebi no trust hospital.
Okay. Okay,
Onya private hospital, but on the GRA way. Okay. So, party negotiate on workers who dealing with government. So, I buying workers. It's not about private. So, the partner, oh dear, I don't know whether you get the picture.
What can I say? Because I don't know, maybe young Klana at here for I innocent here, nurse, into the man the time to explain it better. It's the innocent, I mean, I see, and say Ghana registered nurses who are body no perpetual no and the dear anymore as the president, you know. We are nurse or Ghana and Kwadia, you are part of this association, whether private or government, we are under this mother body. And no money, I'm more bargaining power. It's here be crying out, make us a perpetual and you mama by maybe baby or I'm not interested. Be not perpetual crano or yeah, you mama may private hospital be crying.
Yes.
Maybe call private hospital. Every crowd honor yeah, Juma. But because I am nurse, I under this body needs to know why rise your position.
Yes.
So I acquire bargaining private hospital no among cost strike. It is a by the cost striker and
yes,
because
I think exactly. I think that okay.
Yes,
thank you very much.
And say nipa na private nurse and some na am fighting for horn crown or a being cano. So they can do whatever that they want. That is the
benefit.
That is the bad aspect of it. So at the end of the day, no, people will not take. So for instance, I'm not saying that it could be possible. Say, all the head nurses, leaders is from private hospitals, and these private hospital workers, you know, and the people who are going to lead charge with government, engage government for those working in government sector. Does it make sense?
No,
you understand?
No,
and people will not even take it serious. You understand?
By expansion. Strike in the private hospitals.
Yes.
Exactly the point. I don't know about not private. So because you see our capacity be able private hospital.
Yes. So you see how fast animal way in our but as who can be much wase.
Yeah.
Oh, what I say. Exactly. So for me, I think the roadmap na down and the labor commission the assembly court.
Yeah.
They are calling nurses to come back, but still, the woman they are sort of baby a Zoom call and so I think that the political undertones was our name and the money are very pathetic. For one eco hospital now, one day I don't even want to go there because some of these things are very weak. But the thing is that we are building a country. Every strike action be an premise on established rules of engagement. That is okay. And you see, Senka John Mahama Byway and last year our and our banner say only implement here, then you have a case. But we are talking about a government that is 6 months older. Yet here your deputy minister of health.
Yenibi, I can't don't kwa 1 man.
What I say? So give you say even government nucleus na here forming a crowd abiding yeah. So you give the government time to settle. And what settle we no opa kofa we asem kwasa asem nyina gu paper so bra. What settle we na wo dey say the bargaining there your bargaining power na be kire wo. Or say opa funura na opa whatever na say otimi e bargaining na or win that one there. And let the government settle. Or settle down, I wouldn't have that back and front. Now that is okay. But budget has already been written. The amount of money involved with is over 2 billion. I have the document.
Yeah, I say 4 billion. Oh.
Yes, I have
4 billion every month.
I have the document with me. And the governance in yes, to acquire what I said. You need to go through. So for me, in as much as I sympathize with nurses, the challenges in as for mu go through in as for no. Quina leadership now for so no. In this particular regard, no, it's in bad faith. It's an ambush. And ya wouldn't say, your friend is saying, I didn't know your no. Psychiatry nurses and as a said they are not part of this strike action because they think say and midwives, as I say at you, they have an association. Almost I listen to the president or say they are not in support. They want near man or muhiano. Namum kwanya or mafaso more yano. Yeah. It's not right. You understand? So for me, I think that strike they will be our home but a government that is 6 months old, that is my word, 6 months old. I for me our negotiation, was started with a government. Why is it a power? No, the government will need time to study the documents and see how the economic situation and conditions, everything support to those things. Yeah. But if you don't do these things, now what to may cause strike because you think that you can force God. No, it can't happen that. So that is why I am this whole thing exercise in bad faith. And I think that I'm so disappointed in the woman in charge. Yeah, maybe we know. I think that we need to pay particular attention to your emolument structure. You see, because of that happen on the political space. Yeah. Because my classmates, may a doctor, may a surgery, a or hospital. 12,000 Ghana cedis. I've seen my classmates be at the Ponkosubia or the party executive for China any CEO. Allowance are urging in a month, no such me as a medical doctor. Yes, those things are there, but you see Ghana becoming very overbearing. Oko baby see, but I had a yabro so and ama obia e fin ani ehwe unso uno obia kasa omo compare allowances are leaders ninya oko parliament Sika and Nama Mamfon Sasson, the Edugu Bagim, you see, so people know that there is money. So if I'm a nurse and I'm risking my life, I also deserve that pound of flesh. But if we are able to restructure the emolument structure in such a way, say, baby obia no, give you what you want. Yeah. Oko you can be a nurse here. Nanim mere obi oye mayor. Oko we no be a doctor. I will US. Nanim mere obi oye your friend saying senator. Yeah. Because as a doctor working in a facility in America, the money I get, is almost the same as even far larger. There is this Ghanaian plastic surgeon or US. The guy is a billionaire. The guy is a billionaire because he's a doctor. You understand? So such a person, a senator, so that is what we need to do, just to ensure that people in this service, young training and liberty, and also now poverty now. We are teaching near say what they teacher need a bobo. Now police for crowd there. Police for there na kwa. Onkwani amana single room na the fridge ne na name. Prison officer crowd there near bobo. Na fire there. As a prison officer there omo dey tell me. Omo can ho prison na fire. The difference between prison officer and a prisoner aya war. They are all living in prison. So yeah, I think we need to look at in as much as the ekosunu nyina in a broader stakeholder way. Let us look at the bigger picture. Na ye hu how e fa so a your salary structure ni ye sebe ya obia anibeso de oye. But I think say yes I be but be unnecessary for na nam na there. Some of the demands na we making are absolute rubbish. It's nonsense and no government on his right senses will agree. Obi be catch am say oh na say abandada na jitum because we are going to an election the other ko we obeja to mama. But in this real sense here, you will say the state of affairs here, petrol and so forth. We can't do that, you understand? But we should try to know who's the car, allowances in as for air cost of parliament. Yes, people will be peeved. So we need to do the politics where Sabaya, because Obia who here, Nessie who here, because Nessie knew her. You can't survive. Kakra your more draw service, you see what is happening. And now, Abasia won't feel it. Now we young Kawana Junior Dokana will be another who say yes. So you see, na ye making sure say baby obia no ye betua ne kai is the me classmate me do mo wie legon about 70% of munya ko UK I didn't know about because salary in Yawa, Okoha, and you never go Yamano. Somewhere in America, nursing training can be classmate about 50%. They are in the UK now. Why? Because the structure system here is very terrible and recognizable and give nothing. No answer when the move flat is Anna. One way out of and we now or life where no I don't know. You understand? Government must pay particular attention to workers. Police for more wins because it's bad.
Police need red no any green no difference about one. Yeah. But I agree. Can you question there be a red? Now me say Upesika catch say most Ghana where by force to say red abra. Me so many tria where me who say agree.
Yes,
so you see the frustration out there.
Yes, the frustration. So it's not a take it to poverty. So government must pay particular attention to some of these things, not making sure say you improve salary. Because I say ukoye politics all of a sudden now order VAT other way or the classmate who oh you see kind of moody. Ebi akwa na nya ban sika o. So, and I'm a politics in a comparative way. Now, people are getting exposed to some of these things. First, you know, who MP officer or a special person, and people have come to know. So, some of the people standing on the political side, some are even a Wuram Kwan.
That's what Becca said. We know what
I say. So that veneration, respect, and on is gone. So it's about salary. If you are taking this, I should take this. You understand? So I think see a structure, a monument structure, some of these things will not come up, and government should make sure say the risk allowance now must be universal across board. Now you fan salary no. Now you take away that power from people coming to meet government. We yane we no negotiate we now we know. Hey, now you be that by. What I say, and as a nurses and also bisa for BB, they should ask for something important like this waiver on cars and then as a form. What I say, the near who here and the problem say, we and several other essentials. Now, could be a funeral ground, could be a science allowance. It's absolutely nonsense. Oh,
all right, Raleigh so. I ask some more. Say, Abusian say. Mama Seremwa, or Modesha, no, but I'm free in Tapo red list. No, yes, saying it. And now, man, and I be classic and of Riata Power, bet me a bagana or bar. Some of most woman or Babano and Casse. Or say any rights. Or your lawyer, no solution. Into a second of Rata near Pioneer, the demand or backward Casa. And right.
Nana be you know cancer say me or you be onim nyansa obehu say ampa Ken OfORI Attah ba na wamie na no ankasa and right but silence no even a bigger statement be help in the prosecution. So sometimes you know and I'm kasa boom adwene na touch na ya na ketwe because oba na omo friend no on kasa that alone no louder than even wakasa. What I said, I'm going win your mumu. What's a casa? Nasa was a one casa. Then court in the bachelor. All that they have to do is say, I see on casa, near the court. Then the court knows I was on casa. Yeah, on casa, then Yakasa was on casa and Timunya and Uncle Fie. Oh, I'm a casa, home. Yeah, I think. What's the politics on the egg that and these characters, your Mokasa say no, we are nursing doctor not yet, you know who and say, we didn't need this can so far. And then I can't open a shaman for before. No, so I think it's serious. Ken OfORI Attah Busia for Sedeng. Yeah, I think that yes, Obia or Kocaine as Ghana need to say anything. But you see, and America say, answer I will do a nimbe kwakwaji dear nim no. You should always have your back against the wall. So people will not have questions to ask you. And to yes, I never. It's good so Obia be fighting for the family member because a dean Ken OfORI Attah and I'm sure say Interpol criminal nipa na no more that lesson no. A drug syndicate where you just a criminal sir. Omo wanted within the international community and on your model list so it's on record and they didn't Ken OfORI Attah I link it back to a fear so definitely no you not take it kindly because a good man for any you understand so I think that it's okay so modest idea but you see the question maybe some who say enti sabi eni mahunu nana Ken OfORI Attah yen wo krom ha say no na family no na omotiase ana mututu kwan ko China na Vietnam afa no mo aba no mo bete de ekoso when the nonsense was going on in this country, you know, Ken OfORI Attah abusian for no more Ghana na more vacation or China, so they didn't know. They didn't read the papers. They didn't know what was happening when the guy was foolishly borrowing. You can't say China untie. When all used companies here to advise transactional advisors, paying friends. When the gentleman was aggressively egu papa kwasi Indian banks and then as a form enti family ni ehunyansa nkasa oya Ghana business wa fa Ghana for enti your family yesraw kane momo kwenya changes kwa na obaye at the supervisory rem na ye na kwasi Indian abie banka oye nipa adwuma yese hwan Asiedu agongo abie adwuma our bank na ne problem nyina ne say or was some court until he cannot own a bank. You're different in some egu bank. Ken OfORI Attah was the master planner behind some of these things. When the guy was borrowing here and there, corruption, a Japan PDS deal, ECOSO recordings and never the deal or more check commission share and as a family no more. So you see, and America said you could draw a point and that there is no shame in society. I think they should just shut up and allow things to drive. You understand? Because all come back and forth for motion and family should have been the first person to kick in. Now among special prosecutor no. So definitely no. On the medical condition here complicated and called family na man there. I didn't see a family na issue statement say say no custody at some man time. Who's any family? When the thing was back and forth now, special prosecutor wanted answers, The family did not write to the special prosecutor, they did not go there. But now, yet not to Interpol red alert, so you know free, so no, I was saying I messed that opportunity now. Yes, and that is when the family is getting the energy to say, your friend say, na Ghana for movie, you're some with the family members. Sa kwasi your head cut na sabi ye okrom ha. Pensioner de nisika Onua save nisika o say or the akoto government share no Ken OfORI Attah ebubu omusika no kama papa no oni abusuani wawu osefom sa ye fa senche so hwan sa ye fa say hotel kase bia wa papa no so no so wawu omudo mu ni abusuanfo ye ka bi mo onye ye. These are shameless cowards. Say sometimes I know because the politics na cheap and media meme hu sa statement na social media no na me free say be enkwasase me no bi actual to social. I didn't even know that nonsense will be coming from a family member. Because over the years ye nim dia koso okroma ya ansa na obetimi aka nsem bi say no de ekoso no esenka waka bi pen. Because when Ghanaians were wailing, you cannot say that people were complaining that Kufuor, they were all NDC people. No. Ghana for Messia Sofu be a bank. Or say or Kotor government bond na just say Nisika Yinan on the Kokoya dear or Bobo Siansan or Didi. And the Ohana, sir, I let be Mutia some time ago be a Sanji and Abaton account no free. I'm for do can say, oh, where the Yamiadum, Abatom account. And yet Tiana Poku do Bank of Kwakuya, or Masan would do a scanner by mistake. Enti obi a oye healthy Onua didn't seek a go no by force why for
pressure
and the family ebimu wu sa Gold Coast we na can we papa kwasi ndo ma de na by do you know the number of people musika wom obo wu omo ebimu adana yare for family no na mo hefa I think say sometimes there is no shame in obi aye niam hunu bia na ofa ne ho adi. I am expecting some combat advises the special prosecutor say making sure say you don't witch hunt. Namum emrane nhyehyeye ewo ho no ye ba na ye tunufo obedi so na ye ne na kasa say obeba eda sei na oba ye be make sure say the esemo ye bia no mo be ye say am no ka we are okay na just say oh oni nyansafo na ke kasa wo exactly. That is what every normal human being will do. Yes. And these are people as and can you for money yes and no. What I say. Say Abrante can say or then I the masterpiece one puzzle. Puzzle now you tutu and no. Ken OfORI Attah is the masterpiece in the larger corruption puzzle now you try to first unravel in this country. Gozia Manoka say NIB. Any Yoko for I open a separate investigation about the criminal dealings in this country. So for him, no first and a special prosecutor and one channel. But I say no, I had double obviously a double salansa. Yoko a way. So I know today the gentleman is going to have a ride. So the early he comes and face whatever he's supposed to face and stop playing this I am sick card. I am sick, there be a country or you're ready. obi yare a wuntumi nkasa si anase but the reality is say wonyo obi a we bedridden wonyo obi a we immobilized a woda bed so aka say ontumi nto kwan according to sources ko ebirim kwa so mu hunu land not ye fence ba bi didi and the pictures were circulating on social media so wonyo obi a we yare da house wuntumi nante wuntumi nya we yes we are finance minister so bra papa I'll be more than happy enough to avail myself and answer you understand and that kind of what I saw yare abra no your finance minister me say who ni tie siso atim say akwa na yare no na mo we ask me kotena chief say he should resign for the health sake okay
me kai if that them
yes because who na atim so yare at that time I was worried say even decisions no making were not out of reasoning because the guy was sick. At that time, no family no who say, oh, ya bayi oyare. So unko tena nche na obi me take over. MPP as a political party, MPs in parliament no ka said no, Ken, abraba wo de economy new born nya abraba papa nti yesro hisi nchen. Every year, free doctor now we kotu no find say. There is this doctor owo Kumasi.
And dia pia kubi.
No, ba kubi wo ye and dia pia kubi ba kubi wo Kumasi. Omo kotu no primary solution ye. Onu so am say o doctor. Or tire interviews.
Yeah.
Oh, menidina me urafi. Ye two no ene or tire grant interview. Ye ko two no ma ene otifie. Because okodi animu say ye ni Ken OfORI Attah or a lawyer mom. Oh, okay. No, and the idea could be dying. We Kumasi ankasa.
Eugene.
Yes, Eugene.
You are your doctor.
Oh, okay. Eugene Asem America.
Eugene Boache.
Eugene Boache. Ye two no. Say Otumfo na onye MP.
Common flow.
Yes, because of that we no mu di animu say Ken OfORI Attah nsi nchen. Yes. Yes, only Andy we no ye to bu nyina kwotena fie. So this is abrabo Ken OfORI Attah bebo no okroma say. Enema branche we ya no okroma say no. Say nya emra na ye adwuma no mu ni kosikejeti ana say makwala nka ema na bebu na ku no because of some decisions o take ya it take a man for life away from them. This is the crimes even you can say it's alleged, but the consequences and the impact of these alleged crimes were visible, were very impactful. And the papa was indium. Obi oye ya fence adwuma wura na wadan ya kawura. I'm told say na kra na ho nya de oyare. This is a businessman or creative business there.
Over 3,000.
Yes, and there is no business that was assist or challenging or even more challenge or but yentimi kasa challenge or hands what as a company that is how I run it. So you as an overseer you have to re-engineer plan and until we lead a nyansa wo team you engineer plan just to ensure somebody navigate it through sabe nipa benya adwuma ye de timodin gugu sa nwuma we nyina gu ye e majority of people kotena fie and that time so obia en akisu bra na bayi wano a you are out there talking nonsense witch hunting and oyare na oyese na bra na oyare na owu no na onfa nya finance minister na yemfa ntu amana se cathedral na yensesa yesika na was he not borrowing so I think the family should give us a break. Some of this nonsense, this emotional crusade, will not fly in the face of reasoning, in the face of logic. Because Ghana, they lived through the Ken OfORI Attah era. They saw what happened. They experienced it. Some lost their parents. Some lost their uncle. Some lost their wife. Some lost their fortune. And the doings of this gentleman. Branabe, you are not come and answer. That is up to us. You understand? So I think that the special prosecutor must do whatever it takes. I'm happy to say the Attorney General has started processes just to ensure that the extradite him. It's going to be a bit complicated, but family no one can and your special prosecutor and also they should write to Ken OfORI Attah. Say and your special prosecutor and no. I Ghana for no. Opa say me declare say baby who Ken OfORI Attah bia no mfa na ka Ghana for mo abrochom kwakọ hwe the number. Because do na the sika ba kroma Ken OfORI Attah anti sika na kam. They are angry and peeved. Man for better the number Kroma say. That is how I'm a number boy, I'm a Ghana for you peeved and angry about the way they did their thing. So for me, I think that family needs to just shut up. And Merenes or Mokasano, I come because Abrana near Mahunu Kosono. That was the time I said, Commodium Jim, no mutu more for Siano for Abrana, oh, take it those and Quasia decisions in a Ghana Coboy, but I know my boy, baby, trying to pick the pieces together. Sabi bit me coming back. Then bringing your voice to the conversation. I think they should give us a break.
Well, it's all.
Once again, the chronic Oh, say, 24 great grandma.
Amanema.
Say, me to me to fine teacher man. Na. Ken OfORI Attah share the brass or Ghana. I'm a kind. I predicted today. Say, the bedroom baby. Mobabe, the reason why I was say, a buying a bebano, a benyesika, a dear to Ghana football. Now you're the above mine home. So I said, can you be a woman be a toilet? Almost last year, from 2017 January, now no more year, veteran, one of the Minister for Finance. Sabre me talk about Parliament say, Ken OfORI Attah does not qualify to be a finance minister. Dedi kan, ne ngoma suamu sensem no, training. Anya no credit. Say Okoye University bia, anya no credit.
I want a fraud there.
Kofo should the movie be a scam.
Say Ken OfORI Attah or any better qualification as far as finance or whatever is concerned, economics is concerned, we need any better qualification. Yeah. Everything he provided to the panel was false. And Suhini Busa the question. And prior to Suhini the question, you know, now I think was it Suhini now that said Busa they say, does he have accounts in tax havens? Tax haven, yeah, baby. Who are one person who bet you at one man? Who do Sika Kusi? Senebaya Oba avoided taxes. Mainly. 2. Obi Owa or Sikabia or person would give Gani and now this see ne man for. And now on mine, and also ultimate discapo. Now, Oyobia, only the first criminal in my way in this Fourth Republic. Obu abain Rollins abain tie Rollins abain obu Rollins abain faso Satan no fi Liberia abagana oni Johnson Sirleaf na no ye president
yeah maame bi
ewo Liberia no sa data bank no oni maame no ne bie ye eti maame no had I think a higher percentage shares plus some other friends of his omo nyina no more Liberia o call Liberia e dey no the freak Ken ye maame deal the friend. Now, odi dream my dream no could do better. So say on this net koto kese say opesu osisia dan ema net workers. Now to say the a free fire IK champion.
Yeah.
AKA for Otumfo golf. Yeah. Osisi estates be Ghana ha ne subi mada. Senya Saglema, a champion is still holding the record. Now, that time now, no, yet, Sadiano. And Pennyphobia could be a friend. People's Movement for Freedom and Justice. PMFD. Now, you're a champion. Yes, I know money now. It is Sadiano. And now, also so, I could fast say, template me. Rollins abain mo masnet mami sika na me fancy estates ahodo pi estate na
sika no so e
dan wan sase no okoji asase no o se man so aba asase no nti sika $12 million obi an Google obotan
yeah
obotan Ken OfORI Attah
I read through
you're criminal. Look, say a cable meza 10 or 10 is one way to take phone or no yabef. KG na make KG na make Ken OfORI Attah na ye. And one Alex Daddy now or free group or Kufa do me no. And one no ye. Everything they did is criminal. Pot koshe and now pa pot them a pot. Ne koshe adia air koso what them a pot. Because omo J pot adwuma ni free aban sem GC net na aban wo percentage wo mu ana GC net dey here adwuma about 35%. They took all aban percentage no dey adwuma ne ko baby your friend unicorn ene busa obi a watermaport uniform enye adwuma me boamachi madam for broni bi oye Brazilian
na pay up in 2 minutes
ena odi adwuma baaye say obi a odi ne nyoma frama no ne ba bia no e wo say ye ma aban hu in advance ade a wo ship free country ne so di abaga na hantie free bibi advance shipment information na embedded in advance shipment information or the tracking account ah you be tracking cargo no say ne bia obi a nyoma nyira wo high seas onyoma bedru Ghana enyira ketie the tracking account tie free bibi cargo tracking note na Ken OfORI Attah ne akwa bi e friend Coleman o mako sign contract aye company bi e friend CTN Ghana Limited ajeje importer sika di omo wie ya omo gu company no we nyina hye ne tuo we kwa me fan koy o enka ho afi na mde no
afi na ade no be ko
eti eka Ken OfORI Attah asemo a abusua no omo ho ye me fere se omo de omo anu betum na omo de omo anu tum incapacity as what se abusia ben a omo free he omo ye hwanom a omo ye ni pata Ghana ni ben abusia ben papa ben abusia papa ben because this is abusia mu be ka che ye se ye ya beifo ma
yes
say yen ya criticize ya ku for do kronfo to bottom ni balawo say wo di e-levy atutu ye bottom wo ye phone so ade ye phone adani galam say site tu galam say wo ye phone so ya koka enti o mu kuro mu hine ne say yen ya beifo ma yen na wo hwe beifo ba na ka wo hwe onu na ni na hwe ye animu a wo na say beifo ba wo de hwe na nim na hwe ye nim Ken OfORI Attah nim hwabusua ni nyina hwe omanim na hwe yen a ye kasai hwe yesu anim na wan na say beifo ba abusua wei ana omo ye den sebi nka mu tu ne fo tete ni ye ma ne bobra pa
all right 30 seconds
na ata ye busua so sorry say ata yi no so ye nyana ni ajeja no
ni eja
from força
okay
what be finance minister wia sika kogu abusua no ho mu di sa na Akufo do papa be ye mampani just for 1 year 5 months hwe kro no obo ye ship kura potimi yira ship 1 year 5 months o bokro no
ba from say dia farmer so na ere
we are your son we are ma and Akufo do atọ Japan nyina including hotel no ohu de Nyankopon eye se oba ba mu nu asa akodi hotel na yeso onu social change na for o ma chalice ni na ye hotel